Hello everyone and welcome back to the channel. So today I woke up finding myself a little irritated. So I wanted to just talk about some video game stuff for a while. I put out a lot of video game content, but every now and then I just want to talk about what's going on in the gaming community because I am a part of it. So if you've watched this channel for any significant amount of time, you'll know that we have an affinity for zombies over here. We've played games like Dying Light, 7 Days to Die, State of Decay, Dead Island, just to name a few. Not Another Zombie, or Yet Another Zombie, Survivor, Yet Another Zombie, Defender, like just so many different types of zombie games, man. Hashtag kill all zombies, man. The list is exhaustive. We like zombies over here. That's the point that I'm trying to make. And Resident Evil has always been a franchise that I've found to be very interesting and amazing. Interesting that I didn't mention Resident Evil in that group, but yes, we've also played Resident Evil games on this channel. But there's always been a Resident Evil game that I particularly wasn't crazy about, but it was one of the most fun Resident Evil games that I played because I got a chance to play it with my friends because it was co-op, and that was Resident Evil 5. And even though, like I said, it's not my favorite game by a long shot, Resident Evil 5 held a special place in my heart just because, I got to play it co-op with one of my best friends ever, and it was just a good time. That whole idea of being able to do all the stuff that I love in a Resident Evil game with one of my close friends was just, it was awesome. So for that reason alone, you know, I think very highly of Resident Evil 5, or I remember it very fondly. And we played through that game several times and had a good time doing so. So the controversy when the game first announced and people were seeing what was going on, I had already thought initially was really stupid because Resident Evil is a global game. It has always been a global game. It takes place in all different kinds of places all over the world, albeit mainly the U.S. But they get around in that game. It's a it's a global bioterrorism game where things are happening all over the world, and in every iteration of games or movies or books or comics or whatever, whenever you find yourself in a place in the world in that game, the people in that place are typically representative of the place that you're in. Now, I know that sounds insane. I know that sounds absolutely crazy to even think about the fact that if you go to a place like, I don't know, Spain, there's going to be a bunch of Spanish people there. Weird, right? I know, super strange. You play Resident Evil 6, I think they went to China for a while, and you were running through the streets, and all the zombies were, I think they were like Chinese. I know, it's weird, right? Isn't it strange how if you hop on a plane and you go over to France, most of the people are going to be French? It's weird, I know. The concept is kind of crazy. Like just saying it out of my mouth right now makes me feel kind of weird because there's no way that that could be true, right? Like it's weird that if you go to a place where people tend to live, the people are gonna look like the people who live in that place. It's crazy, right? So the reason I bring this up, I'm sure you guys have probably figured it out by now, is because out of all the places that Resident Evil has taken place, and all the places that the main characters have been, the only place that people seem to find racist is Africa, which is typical. I don't. It's typical. For some reason, Resident Evil 4 is one of the most popular Resident Evil games of all time. It has been remade 7,396 times and put on 4,552 consoles, and everybody absolutely loves it. 10 out of 10s for everybody except for probably the regular OG people who think that Resident Evil 4 was the death of Resident Evil. Pretty much universally loved and it takes place in Spain. And all the zombies are Spanish, and they all speak that language. Every single one of them. All of them. They're all Spanish. All the bosses, all the zombies, like all the people that you encounter, like all of them. And this was fine. Going down to a rural Spain and gunning down a bunch of Spaniards, completely 100% fine. Nothing wrong with that. Nothing wrong with it. And mind you, like I said, when I emphasize this, every single one of them was Spanish. So this was a game in which a white man shows up and guns down an entire race of people exclusively. And it's like, cool. Game of the year. But I played Resident Evil 5, unlike a lot of the people who criticized Resident Evil 5 and talked a lot of trash about it. And I know for a fact that all of the zombies were not black in that game. I played it several times. Now, every single clip you see and every single person you see talking about it, when they show the zombies, they exclusively show black zombies. They'll show all the screenshots where you're fighting or facing off with the black ones. But it's literally 50-50 black and white zombies in that game. Like, of all the regular low-level base zombies that you deal with, about 50% of them are white. Nobody mentions this. Even the people who are defending the game. Like, I've seen people defend the game. They're just arguing that it's not racist, that you're just shooting a whole bunch of black people. But even they don't mention. Go back and play Resident Evil 5. I challenge you. Because I swear to God, I feel like people have amnesia. Go back and play Resident Evil 5. And just look around. At least half of those zombies are white. Even though it takes place in Africa. And to add icing on the cake, at least 60% of all the bosses that you encounter are also white. Or just monsters in general. Like, they don't even have a race. It's either just a flat-out monster or they're white. So, I don't know, man. Like, I feel like it's either pointless virtue signaling to try to pretend like you have a some moral obligation to be on the right side of the argument, like Jacksepticeye.
I don't think they're ever going to remake Resi 5 because of the obvious racial conflict that's happening in that game, and I think it would be completely stupid. That game has not aged well in terms of who you're fighting. So they would have to just fundamentally change what the game is about.
I don't know, man. I did initially like Jacksepticeye, but he seems to be one of those people who feels like he has to say whatever the current correct thing is to protect his brand. And you know what? When it comes to protecting your brand and your livelihood, totally understand it. I'm not gonna knock him for that, but it's so blatant and so just like, come on, dude. Like, I've watched a lot of your content. Like, you're not fooling anybody, pretending to be this paragon of virtue. Like, I don't know why you're putting on this facade, but even he fell for the Resident Evil 5 can't be remade because it's racist to kill black people, which is setting a precedent to say that black people can exist and need to exist in a Resident Evil game because of diversity, but they can't exist as villains because that's racist. Everybody else can. Anybody else can be a villain. They can be a good guy. They can be a side character. Totally fine for everybody else. Black people have to be excluded from being bad guys, though, because it's automatic racism if that's the case. Because why else would you want to kill a black person? Unless it's racist. It's just, there's no thought put into it. It's just pure, stupid slacktivism that helps nobody. Especially black people. And I know, because I'm a black person and it's never helped me. A bunch of weird, crazy, stupid people getting overly offended over things that aren't a problem at all for us never helped me. Ever. In all the 30 some odd years I've been alive, not a single time have I been assisted by some fucking asshole getting offended for me. Never. It's not. Just please, for the love of God, just stop it. It's so fucking irritating. It is. It is just, it is mind numbing having to listen to this crap all the time. And now, the potential of Resident Evil 5 being remade is in question. And I'm quite sure that when Capcom does make it, if they do go through with it, there's going to be a lot of concessions and changes and whatever to try to warp or flip the narrative. Not to mention the fact that one of the main characters that you can play as is also black and also female. But once again, we got to look past that because that doesn't matter. It's such a dumb conversation because they don't think. They're not thinking at all. They're just it's like this is what's supposed to be said and this is what's supposed to be believed because this is what the programming tells us to believe. So this is what we have to believe. Have you thought about it for 10 seconds? No, no, no. We're not allowed to think about it. We're not allowed to take anything into consideration or try to, use our brains in any way, shape, or form. We just have to obey and follow. These are the same people who see a movie with majority white people and say, wow, this movie needs to be fixed. It's terrible. Diversity is what we need. It is what keeps us together. We need diverse movies with diverse casts that represent America. And then Black Panther comes out and they're like, 99.9% black? Now that's diversity. Or Filthy Rich Asians come out or whatever that movie was called and they're like, oof, 100% Asian cast? True diversity. And I'm just like, oh my God, please, please shut the fuck up. Please just stop talking. It's painful. It's painful and it's frustrating. There's so many social things that are going on in the world that need to be addressed. There's so much injustice and issues and drama and just general crap that needs to be talked about, but nothing is more frustrating and more irritating than slacktivism. Stupid people standing up for causes that they don't understand, that help no one, is probably the single most frustrating thing that I encounter on the day-to-day basis. And this is, once again, all stemming from Resident Evil 5 of all games. Okay. Well, anyway, I just had to get that off of my chest. I just wanted to talk about it because it's something that's been frustrating me for a while. And sorry if this was a personal attack towards you. If you're one of those people that think that Resident Evil 5 is a racist game and shouldn't be remade, I don't care if you're a subscriber of mine. I don't care if you enjoy my content. I don't care if you were just like, I thought you were different. No. I personally believe that you're an idiot and you need to reevaluate your thought process. And, that's just the way I feel. I'm not going to hide it or sugarcoat it or pretend like that's not how I feel. That's how I feel. And that's how I'm going to continue to feel. So it just is what it is. Don't be stupid, people. Like, use your brains. Just think for a moment. And stop getting offended for other people. It's annoying.
It's in Africa. It's been in Antarctica. It's been, I think, in Spain. It's been in the Midwest. It wasn't racist then. Why should it be racist now? It's in Africa. Have fun with the game. Play the game.